My name is Sisi Reid. I am 28 years old and I grew up in Wheaton, Maryland. It's a suburb outside of Washington, DC. Very ethnically diverse, which is part of like my identity. As a Black woman, I grew up around a lot of different ethnicities of people, hearing a lot of different languages from Spanish to Amharic to just so many different influences around me in my neighborhood and with the friends that I grew up with. And I am a storyteller, a theater artist, which means a lot of things. So I'm an actor, a dancer, a singer, a rapper. I'm a playwright. I'm also an arts administrator, um, and I love to teach. So I love sharing all of the things I do creatively. So I've taught playwriting and acting and devising, and both teaching and creating my own art and performing my own art are like equally important to me. They're like yeah. Right after undergrad, I discovered I need to be doing both. I need to be teaching and also creating my art at the same time. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. I definitely a lot of the art and stories that I make are centered around joy and healing. So typically the stories I create are metaphors or they're connected to my own healing journey. And so I'll create things that are related to like how do I feel whole? How do I feel full? How do I love myself? How do I take care of myself? How do I feel joyful and embody joy? And then I love nature, so like there's always like themes of like nature and connecting to nature and connecting to the earth. And then I, especially because I'm a Black queer woman, I'm always looking at the different intersections of my identity and like how can Black and queer and women and femme folk like be full and take up space and be liberated. So like liberation, healing, joy, nature is like the universe that I play in, and there's like endless stories that I can tell for the rest of my life just based on those few words I named. I was looking through some old notes, and I did a year of AmeriCorps working for a youth center, and we were also assisting classes in a middle school. And that process made me want to get my English teaching English certification. And
Mm.
so I at the time that was about 2016, 2017. I wanted to get that certification. I was looking at different programs, I just never did. And then this now years later, this opportunity lined up. And so I was like, well, this is the time for me to do it. And it was perfect because it was about integrating arts. And I spent all these years becoming a professional artist. And so for me, I love teaching. I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. So the process of learning is very important and sacred. In learning, we get to learn about ourselves and the world and connect with people and ideas. And so, um, teaching a language that I already know wasn't a far step for me because I already love languages. I'm learning a little bit of Portuguese. I know Spanish, and so I already like love the art form and the craft of language. So then teaching English was like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to share what I know about this language and to learn from my students because my future students know so much coming from their cultures and their languages. So it's really like I think connected to just the love of arts because language is an art form and is creative in its own right. As a theater person, we love games. We learn through games. We develop story through games. Games is our work. Like that's what I've learned That's what I learned in university, and then becoming a professional artist is the games allow us to open. It allows us to engage in different parts of ourselves that sometimes we don't engage in just regular day to day life. And so I bring a wealth of games and understanding that learning happens in the body. So what this program, being part of the lo-fi program has taught me is like to come back to like embodied learning. How can I teach English and use the games and the theater techniques and all of those things to get my students to not just learn it here, but learn how do you embody this new language. So I'm primarily a theater artist. I also am a spoken word poet, and I've done that. I've taught it a little bit, but my main the art form I spend the most time and energy on is theater. And so here was this opportunity to get a teaching English certification. So I was like, okay, great. I wanted to do that, and then do it with hip hop. I was like, oh, can I do this? I want to do this. So the idea that I could stretch and be challenged as an artist was something that intrigued me because it wasn't just what I was used to. It was like, well, let me see if I can connect to and play within the craft of hip hop and use it. So really, I was like, let me challenge myself and apply. Not know, I did not know, where it would end up, but let me challenge myself, and it's already something I've been interested in, and it's about incorporating the arts. Anytime I can put the arts in something, sign me up. We're about to finish the program. So the past few months, we've been doing workshops twice a week, so Wednesdays and Fridays, where we look at different terms that we've been learning in the courses from Bridge, as well as looking at the different elements of hip hop. And so, specifically, what Lo-Fi's founder Miles, what he's been teaching us, is his. I have to credit him his method that he calls the Irie Miyagi method, and it's looking at the five elements of hip hop and then like intentionally using them to intersect with the receptive and productive skills that we learn about from Bridge. So we've had like several classes where we look at how do we could use the five elements of hip hop, MC, breakdancing, knowledge, graffiti, and DJing. So taking one of those elements like MCs they rap, they rhyme words. So how can we use rhyming to practice speaking English? And so that we know that rhyming helps us remember things. And so that's just one example of like how we've been like taught to practice with in class, like how to incorporate hip hop into the memory of learning English and then also like the embodying of like what does English mean to me as a new learner and what does it mean as I navigate, the world. The thing I like the most is that it's because I because I it's helped me understand how I can influence my classroom as a teacher. And so we've had from both watching our instructor Miles as well as from guest artists who we've had visit, I've learned that like I can be an MC of the classroom. And I never put those two things together, meaning I can how just like a MC, a rapper will perform, they want their audience to feel something. Now I'm thinking about like, well, how do I want my students to feel? How do I want to use language to engage them? Because being an MC is constantly about engagement, fun. You want your audience, your students to be with you on the journey. It's not about just let me just talk and give them something. It's about a connection. And so the that's been the biggest takeaway for me and the thing I've enjoyed the most, just the to be able to practice being an MC of my own classroom and doing that with the projects we've done throughout our time together at Lo-Fi. And right now we're working on our final project, and so they gave us a couple different options of what to do for the final project. Just so we could have different creative liberties, but one of them is looking we could use that Irie Miyagi method of incorporating the five elements into the receptive and productive skills, or we could make a video that's geared towards teachers who want to incorporate more arts. I know some of my fellow some of the people as a part of the cohort are doing that. We could just talk about a topic that is relevant to our culture that we think English learners, English language learners would want to know about. So we have a few different options, and so all of us are now in the process of working on those things. And I just this past weekend just filmed my final project with Miles, the founder of Lo-Fi, which was I created a pilot for a hip hop English language learning TV show for young people. So I took my acting, I took the hip hop, and I took English language learning, and I made it into a show. What I like about the two parts is, and it wasn't. I feel like it is still. I feel like I'm still learning how to put them together. There's still. I feel like that's a continuous process, and it has been challenging at some points. I think what I like is that with Bridge, specifically with like the written assignments, I have to think about specific populations and think about specific levels from beginner to intermediate, high beginner. And I have to think about, well, which exercises will I use? How will I give feedback? So the bridge allows me to look into detail of the process of which how do I prepare, execute, and give feedback to my students depending on what skill I'm teaching. And then so that's happening on like one side of the brain, and then the other side of the brain with all this hip hop um, uh, games and ideas that I'm learning from lo-fi. Now it's like there's an opportunity to then infuse those ideas into the process that I'm learning from Bridge. So Bridge is giving me like a detailed, comprehensive process as I learn each, specifically when it comes to those receptive and productive skills, as I learn how to teach those skills, and then I have the lo-fi hip hop ideas to be able to infuse into those. The lo-fi program has really in a time of in a time where my industry, the theater industry, is so unpredictable, so vulnerable, it has shown me that there's another pathway that I can go as an artist, as a creative, and as an educator to keep doing the things I love to do. And so I'm grateful for the lo-fi program because it's expanded. I did not realize there's a whole nother industry that I can train and jump into and bring my whole artist self into. And so it's really expanded what I understand about me as an artist and a teacher in the world. I want to teach online um, in the next, like within this year. I would like to start teaching online. Um, I've never, yeah, I've never taught online, so that'll be an interesting transition. And the goal would be to then move abroad somewhere and teach English using all of my hip hop and artistry elements to live abroad. I really want to move outside the United States one day. That's been like a long term dream of mine. And then learning groove with Miss Cece, the TV show that's becoming a fully realized project. I would like to fully realize that project and see how it can also um, allow me to generate income for myself as an artist and a teacher, as well as see, yeah, just see how that can open up ways that I can teach and travel.